Hey guys, welcome back to Charleston Cycles. This week I was able to go down to Savannah and do a crit, the Hutchinson Speedway. This was the Nestor Cup crit series that's been going on this summer, and had a great time. So welcome. We're going to go through this race. I'm going to let you know a little bit about the experience and how it was for me. If you're new to this channel, I just do a lot of crits here in South Carolina, close to Charleston. Do some bike rides all year long. So if you're interested in seeing these kind of videos, by all means, please like and subscribe to my channel. So the race overall was very exciting. Right here, I just wanted to point out, if you look up there going into the turn, you can already see there's a move going off the front. That was the first attack of the day, and he got away for a good while. And see the separation that he was able to get. Generally, and one thing you'll notice is the speed is already up to 30 miles an hour. When those moves would go off the front, it seemed like the entire group would just surge. If you were in the back, a lot of times it was evident that there was a move going off the front because there was just so much of an acceleration out of the gate. So yeah, you can get a good picture of how much separation he's got there. But what will happen here is you'll start to see there on the left up in front, he's already kind of shut it down, and so the group's going to catch back up, and so we're all riding again together, just in one bunch. So for the week, we went down on Friday, spent the weekend in Savannah. It's a great city. If you haven't been there, I think there's one more opportunity to do this race on October 11th. Friday, October the 11th will be the next and last race of the year on the speedway here. And I would highly advise, if you're in the area, if you can make a road trip, come out and check that out, because it was. I was really impressed. Again, going from just the track that I typically race on, this was so much different. You can see here the pace is really starting to pick up for the first time. The track is the turns. All the turns on the track are really sweeping, wide. It's obviously set up for auto racing, so even with the field, I believe there was 19 bikes racing in the race today. There was plenty of room in all the turns. You never feel like you're crowded for space. All the turns are pretty much wide open, so there's no, cornering is not a big deal, and accelerations are not a big deal. One thing that always hurts me on the races in Charleston is just a four-corner crit with really sharp 90-degree turns, is because I'm heavier. I tend to have to accelerate out of those turns. And one thing I noticed, the dramatic difference in this was that my heart rate was able to stay down. I was able to recover because I wasn't having to do those surges out of every single turn. I was able to just keep my speed up throughout the day, so it was making a huge difference just as far as fatigue was going. I felt really good all through the day, and even in the instances where the pace picked up into the 30s and my heart rate would spike, inevitably I was able to get tucked back in the draft and recover pretty quickly. So it was really nice. Having that option today. So right here, there's the only sharp turn on the whole track is this one. And what would happen if you look at my power there, spike up to 900 watts. I really, first couple of times we went through that turn, I just dumped too much power down because I was panicking that I didn't want a gap to form, and the pace was so high. And so what ended up happening was I put too much power down, and then I found myself either having to hit the brakes or slide over out of the draft and lose some momentum that way. So finally, toward I think lap 3 or so, I started to figure out how to take that turn and just it was okay to just let a little gap form going into that, because inevitably my momentum would just would just carry me back up to the back wheel. Now, one other comment on the track that really set up nicely for me, we just crossed the start-finish line, and so going into this turn, you can't really tell it on the video, but there's a decent climb, and that climb goes all the way up through this first turn, and you'll see as we make the bend around here, you'll see another turn, I guess you call that turn 2, but yeah, that next turn that's just straight in front of us now. All of that from the start line all the way up to this point is pretty much uphill. And you can see they would climb this. We're going 19 miles an hour. I'm doing 200 watts, 250, 300 watts. It was every time we climbed that hill, the pace was nice. And then when we get to this point, it felt like the rest of the track was just rolling down the hill, super fast. And with me being heavier, once I climbed the hill, especially through this section of the track, I had so much potential energy kind of just saved up that I could, like right here, just spinning around with minimal effort. I was able to improve my position pretty dramatically where I was at on the track without having to spend very much energy. So what I would do is come off that hill and I would just get as far over as I needed to. And if you get on this right corner, coming around this line here, the next right turn, even if you're out of the draft, you're in position where they're basically going to have to just kind of absorb you back into the line, as you can see what's happening here. So you just get right back in the draft. That was kind of how I was maneuvering and using that downhill section to my advantage. One thing that I wanted to do kind of going into this race was to do some research. There's a few videos, obviously I've not done a lot of crit races, and the only crits that I have done have been on one track here in Charleston, so I didn't really know what to expect on this course, but I did find 4 or 5 YouTube videos where I was able to just watch other people race it, and so I knew a lot about what kind of pace to expect. How kind of spiky the speed was going to be, or how uneven the speeds were going to be, how much just variation there was in the track, and so you can really get a lot of knowledge just by doing some research on YouTube. So one thing based on some of the research I had done was to try to work out some kind of strategy. I've raced a few times this year, and I've had some things work, and I've had some things not work so good. So the big thing for me was strategy-wise. I wanted to obviously stay out of the wind as much as I possibly could. I've definitely done some races where I've been overconfident in my fitness and tried to do a move or two off the front and ended up tiring myself out. And so the goal for this race was definitely to stay kind of tucked in the draft and save my legs for the final lap and for the final sprint. And for the most part, I think I did a pretty good job of doing that. For some reason, that's harder said than done for me most of the time. But the other thing was just coming into the race was, my strategy. I wasn't expecting to know anybody at the race, again, because I'm from Charleston. The race was in Savannah. I was surprised when I got there. I saw 2 or 3 guys from my normal Saturday group ride were down here too. So it was good to see some familiar faces and get some help from those guys out on the track. Okay, real quick here, the winning move I believe is about to happen. The guy just in front of me to the left in the white and blue kit. If you'll notice, the pace is going to slow down here. This is the only, like I mentioned earlier, the sharp corner, right, where everybody has to slow down. You can see the pace is down to 23 right here. The guy that's got the red helmet on. The guy in front of him, incidentally, with the green, yellow, orange kit here to my left, I believe he ended up getting second, but there goes the move off the front. Great timing. Just wait until the pace naturally slows down. It's never good to put in a dig like that when the group's going 30 miles an hour, but if you can find those spots on the track where there's just a natural lull, lap after lap, it was very predictable that was the group is going to tend to slow down in that point, and he puts in an attack there, and he gets some wicked separation, and I don't believe anybody catches him till the end. We'll keep an eye on it. Again, I'm kind of far back here, so it's hard to tell exactly what's going on, but as we get up to these turns, you may be able to have a better idea. Yeah, you can see him there, how much separation he's already got just going into that first turn, and there's a reasonable amount of effort going into running him down here, but I think the group just kind of tires out, and probably nobody figures that he's going to be able to make that stick. There he goes again. Incidentally, the guy in the red kit that's up on the front there, he'll end up getting third place. So you can see the guy directly in front of me, yellow, orange, green, he gets second. The guy in red gets third, and then the guy that's off the front gets first. So that's kind of how this race is going to shape up toward the end. So yeah, pretty much by the time we get to this point, he's out of sight. Okay, and so going back to what I was talking about earlier about strategy, the other thing that I wanted to do strategy-wise was to try to stay in, say, the front third of the group, which is sort of hard to do. As you can see, there's always this constant reshuffling, and you don't want to get so far on the front that you're in the wind and you're having to do work. The flip side of that is when you're in the back, you get the yo-yo effect from all the surges, and so you can tend to do more work when you're in the back, and then also just the risk level goes up if you're in the back, and the more riders you have in front of you, if somebody goes down, then it's no problem if they're behind you, but if you've got they're in front of you, it could be an issue. So here is a big effort we put in. As you can see, I think there must have been a move. I'm pretty far back. There must have been a move off the front here. So kind of laying down 700-800 watts to keep with the group. And here the pace is going to swing up to 30 miles an hour. Alec puts his head down and digs to stay on there. And he's even out in the wind there, going around it. I was pretty okay just to get behind this guy here who's at least big enough to block some wind and recover from that effort. But anyway, it was hard. Needless to say, it was hard to try to stay in that position. In the top 5 or 6 bikes or so would be the ideal position for me. The other thing that's good about being up there is, a lot of times when you're back in the back, you don't necessarily know when that move's going to go off the front, and you can't make the decision whether or not you're going to go with it because you never see it happen. And so when you're back here, it's just harder to make decisions relative to race strategy as the race kind of unfolds. So one thing I had mentioned earlier was the fact that I was feeling pretty good with the heart rate. You can see here my heart rate's up to about 175. It's one of the highest times that, or the highest heart rates I had all day. But what I was able to do, like I said, was for the most part, was once I would tuck back in to the draft, and I could kind of regulate how much power output I was having. The heart rate would pretty quickly come back down. I've been doing quite a bit of high intensity intervals going into this race, and some training, and have been working on my weight. So all those factors kind of came together, and I really felt like I was in really good fitness wise. I was feeling good, and I also felt like I was in really good form. I had ridden earlier in the week. I think Thursday was the last hard day that I had. After Thursday, pretty much did an easy ride on Friday and Saturday, just kind of spin my legs up. So it was pretty well rested, and just really felt like I had a good chance at being able to do well at the end of the race. The unfortunate thing you'll see that happens is eventually I'm gonna have a flat, and I have to stop with 2 or 3 laps to go. Here in front of me, this is Cecil, another guy I ride with on Saturdays. He's just a great guy. He's always helping me kind of learn the ropes of cycling, and I was sort of just following his lead a lot of the times out here. He's kind enough to remind me at this point that I need to get out of the wind, because he knows my tendency to forget to get behind some people, and so big thanks to him for keeping an eye out for me out there. But yeah, still a mountain wind, but we're only doing 200 watts and it's only 19 miles an hour. So the group just kind of got to this point and everybody's head on a swivel looking to see if anybody's going to make a move. Getting up to the top of the hill here again. This is lap. This is the last full lap that I'll be able to do before I have it flat, and I wanted to spend just a couple minutes talking about the setup that I had. You can see here there's a little bit of sand in the track, and one of the turns coming up here, I think it's the left-hand turn. That's just at the end of this straightaway. I had noticed when I came through on a couple of laps, and it may have even been this one or the lap before, that I could hear stuff kind of flying out from underneath the tires, like maybe it was pea gravel, or I don't know if it was glass or what it was, but not only my tires, but I could just hear it kind of shooting out from under the tires, for lack of a better description. And I had just fitted a new set of S-Works Turbo Cotton tires on my bike. I'd ridden them, just did like a warm-up ride with those tires, and they were absolutely phenomenal as far as grip, handling, smoothness. I mean, the tire was just amazingly quick. And the only thing, and I believe right here, yeah, this is the spot where I'm talking about. So I could just hear something as I went across that spot. It didn't sound right. Not that different from a line than anybody else was taking. But on the next lap through, when I go through that same exact spot, you can just hear the air just spewing out of the tire, and just really disappointed. The S-Works Cotton, I felt like I said, those tires had 15 miles on it, had a huge gash across the top of it. I was extremely upset, so I'm going to withhold any comments on those tires, just to it could, I don't know, it could have happened to another tire. I don't know. I didn't ride them enough to be judgmental, but I will say that it did feel like the tire was fragile. I realize it's a racing tire. It's not meant to be an everyday rider, but it just putting the tire on the rim. I had already seen wear from just my hands pushing it up over the rim on the sidewall to where the rubber coating was coming off. I just think it's a good tire for what it's meant to do, but it's almost a disposable tire for you race it a couple times and just throw it away. So that's what it is. I have contacted Specialized, and I'll see. I told them the situation, what happened, and we'll see what becomes of that. But this will be going around into what would be my final lap, and I think the group ended up doing 8 laps. It was really a shame for me. I was extremely frustrated that because I was feeling so good. I felt like my legs were, for the first time in a long time, not fatigued, and had a little bit of snap. Okay, so did just skip forward just a little bit in the action, coming up to, again, all across the start-finish line for what will be my last lap. And as you can see, I haven't done a great job of what I said my strategy was going to be about staying toward the front. There's one guy up the road at this point. The guy that's wearing the red jersey is up the road, and we haven't been able to really get a good effort. Everybody's just kind of been scattered out. Nobody's organized, and so going into this this is the sharp turn here. I already know that everybody's going to slow down, just like they have on all the previous laps. And so what we do here is I kind of put in just a little bit of a dig here, and the pace does pick up to 30. But what happens is everybody just kind of sits up at this point, and I had all that momentum, and I didn't really just want to let it go, and so I was kind of going to just roll to the front, and then out of the left corner of my eye, I see Cecil take off on his bike, and so I figured, well, Cecil must have a plan, so I jump on his wheel and just kind of take a free ride. And if you look up in front of Cecil, just going into the turn, you can see the guy in red, and we managed to put together a pretty decent amount of separation between us and the group. And so climbing this hill section, honestly, this would and here we catch him. He was kind of spent. I was really hoping, like, the perfect scenario here would have been that the three of us would have been able to work together. Cecil mentioned here that he thought the whole group was with us when he rolled off there, and as you can see, I'm doing 19, and those guys are slow behind me too. So it's just a matter of time, and this is the downhill section. So really, if we would have been able to work together, probably ripped off down this hill and done pretty good. The only downside was that my heart rate was pegged out at 180. So I didn't feel like I was ready for a breakaway group just yet. And so here comes the group back up to meet us, and it was so this will be coming into the turn that has the glass or debris or whatever it was that ended up taking me out. So there's a good counter right off the front, just like you'd expect after they caught us, and they make a good move. I think everybody was. I'd made the decision here. I just needed to let my heart rate come back down, so I was kind of just going to let the guys fill in and take that fill that gap in without having to dump a lot of power. And here, still kind of just doing that downhill thing. And I think what ended up getting me here was just kind of running a little bit inside of where everybody else was and catching some of that debris on those cotton tires. Just sort of did me in. And so right here, just kind of have to work over to the side, and that was it. That was the day. And there they go. There goes the group with the one guy up the road, Steele, the guy who has been up the road, and I believe they would catch him right at the end, but he was able to hold off the race. Anyway, it was a fun day. It was a great day. If you like this video, like and subscribe to my channel. Hopefully we'll be doing this again in 1 month. And congrats to those guys who did a great job. Outstanding race. See you next time. Charleston Cycles.